comes from the Greek words geo, which means earth, and therm, which means heat. So geothermal literally means earth heat. Archaeological evidence shows that people have been trying to harness this energy in one form or another for thousands of years. Today, the technology exists to bring this sustainable energy source into our homes. And the company Quest Geothermal is providing homeowners this service to help them dramatically reduce their energy consumption and lower their environmental impact. Quest Geothermal was founded by business partners Glenn McPhail and Stuart Smith to provide an alternative to traditional home heating and cooling using a renewable energy source. Glenn says more people are choosing geothermal for two key reasons. The first being the growing awareness of the detrimental effects associated with burning fossil fuels.
Geothermal is very good for the environment. The main reason is the fact that a geothermal system operates on electricity, and it operates on a fraction of the electricity compared to a traditional electric furnace, if we were to compare one to the other. The other nice thing is there is absolutely no carbon emission from a geothermal system. When you've got a fossil fuel furnace in a home, every time that furnace is on, essentially you're emitting carbon into the air, whereas when you convert from a fossil fuel to a geothermal system, you're eliminating that carbon output from that home.
The second key reason is rising energy costs. Homeowner Hamilton Jansen opted for geothermal when faced with the heating bills for his new home.
We heard that it would cost north of $3,000–4,000 to heat these homes with propane. We did not like that prospect, and so we met with the people from Quest, and I interviewed 6–7 different homes that had gone through this, and I did a spreadsheet on what your money is worth and things like that, and we came to the conclusion that despite a payback period of maybe 10 years or so, in the long run it would be a good idea to do.
The way a geothermal system works is we actually run a series of tubes in the ground. So we go down to a depth of about 5 to 6 feet, and we can either lie those tubes horizontally in a field or vertically in drilled wells. That tubing is a closed system, and we circulate a mixture of water and ethanol through the tubes. The water picks up the heat from the ground and brings it into what we call a geothermal heat pump. That heat pump now uses refrigeration to extract the heat or the energy out of the ground and upgrade it to allow you to heat your house to a comfortable temperature. Through the refrigeration process, we're actually chilling the water down, and when you've got a refrigeration process, there's two sides. There's a warm side and a cold side. If you looked at your traditional fridge, when you put a product in the fridge that's warm, the fridge comes on, the product is chilled down, and as it's chilled down, that energy or that heat that's in the product is actually absorbed out of the product itself, run through the refrigeration process, and expelled out the back of your fridge. That's exactly how a geothermal system operates. We chill that water down from 10 degrees Celsius down close to probably freezing, and we extract that heat. As it runs through the refrigeration process, we compress that energy or that vapor, the refrigeration vapor, and ultimately create a larger amount of heat, which we're now able to blow through your ductwork and ultimately heat your home to the temperature that you'd like.
Before an install happens, a home energy audit is done by a third party. Then, Quest will do an in-depth consultation to calculate heat loss. This in turn will determine the size of the installation. The three main types of installs are pond loop, vertical, and horizontal. Mechanical engineer Cam Martin is in charge of sales and sizing installations.
For this particular customer, we've designed a 5-ton ground loop. The system sizing is going to be comprised on how big the house is. For this particular house, it was a 2,500 square foot house. They had good insulation, good windows, and from that we will deduct how much pipe we're going to be putting in the ground. With a 5-ton system, we're going to be putting in 600 feet of pipe in the ground per ton. So that's equivalent to 3,000 linear feet of pipe. So one of the things that we're doing with this installation is we're going to be doing multiple 5-foot wide trenches. You can see that we've got 20-inch spacing between these pipes. After this is put in, we're going to backfill, move over about another 5 feet, and dig another trench. After that, for a total of 5 trenches.
Somebody would choose a vertical over a horizontal, primarily based on the space that they have on their property. When you get into an urban setting, a subdivision type lot, or a lot that has a large number of trees on the property, we don't always have the space to install the system on a horizontal application. It takes quite a bit of land in order for us to get enough pipe in the ground. So what we do is we bring a drill rig on site and we're able to drill. The nice thing about that is we're able to make the footprint of where that ground loop is in a very small confined space. So we can actually install systems in backyards, front yards, or side yards of most urban homes.
For vertical systems, drilling multiple wells between 180 to 200 feet is required.
The reason that we need to go down to roughly 200 feet for a typical residential installation is we need to get enough pipe in the ground so that the heat can be restored in that geothermal tube by the time the water comes back up to the geothermal heat pump. It's a very important function to have enough pipe in the ground to allow that heat to recover, because as I mentioned earlier, the heat coming out of the heat pump is going to be cooler than when it goes in, so it has to have time to work its way through that geothermal tubing in order to collect enough heat to bring it back into the heat pump. The only other part of a geothermal system that's a little bit unique is we need to connect to the outside ground loop. So we actually have to penetrate the basement wall or the foundation wall and bring two about 1.25 inch pipes through the basement wall that will be connected to a flow center, and that is where we're actually moving the water from the heat pump to the ground loop and back.
Geothermal also works as air conditioning in the summer.
The cooling process to a geothermal system is exactly the reverse of the heating process. What we're actually doing is taking heat out of the house and adding it to the water that we're going to now expel into the ground. So we bring heat out of your house through the ductwork. We add that heat through the refrigeration process again to the water. So now the water coming out of that heat pump is actually hotter than the water that's coming in. As the water now circulates through the ground cools it down. So over the course of a summer, a geothermal system is a very efficient air conditioning source, because when we're trying to get rid of the heat from your house, we're actually able to push that heat into cool, damp soil as opposed to warm air, which is how a traditional air conditioning system works.
To learn more about the environmental and financial benefits of geothermal, please visit our website for details. Coming up after the break, we go hiking through the old growth forests of the Oak Ridges Moraine. Stay tuned to A Greener York, brought to you by PowerStream. We'll be right back.